president was asked a lot of questions about Iran today as he was leaving the White House, because it's looming over this whole trip to Beijing. I mean, he's obviously talking about Jimmy Lai there and also comparing him to James Comey. But Harry, I want you to listen to what the president said today when he was asked about Iran.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situation motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. Every American understands, and they just had a poll, like 85%, which is surprising. It's only that they understand that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
I mean, the Democratic ad makers.
You stole the words right out of my mouth.
Cutting it as we speak.
Oh, my goodness gracious. The American people are hearing what he's saying about the cost of living and their finances, and they think it's one of the dopiest things they have ever heard come out of Donald Trump's mouth is what he said today. And it comes at a point in which his net approval rating on the economy, according to our new CNN poll, is 40 points underwater, the lowest it has ever been. Remember, in term one, the economy was his best issue. He was in positive territory at plus 10 points at this point. He is off in a direction that the American people want nothing to do with. And when they hear what he has to say, like he said today, they go, what the heck is going on in Washington, D.C.?
So what he said about the polls on Iran not having a nuclear weapon, I mean, I think most people would agree with that, but the term is the cost here in terms of this war. I mean, is that accurate?
Yeah, here's the situation. Of course, American people do not believe that Iran should have a nuclear weapon. But, you talk about the issues that are the tops for the American folks. The Iran war does not rank anywhere near that. And when it comes to their cost of living, in terms of the negative impact that they feel that the Iran war has had on their cost of living, well, they see it every day at the gas pump, right? There is a reason why Donald Trump's net approval rating on gas prices is something like, I think it was like negative 58 points or something like that in our poll. I mean, this is just political nightmare fuel for Republicans, especially when Trump is making statements like he did today.
Sure, Michael. If you're the White House comms director or a Republican, political fundraiser, and the president says, I don't think about Americans' financial situation, what goes through your mind?
I mean, the message is you always think about the American people and their financial situation, number one. Number two, if you're in the White House, you're putting pressure on the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader in the Senate to try to figure out, can Congress pass some type of legislation to provide some temporary financial reprieve to the American people who may make $100,000 and less in income and joint household incomes. That would be one immediate remedy. The president is headed over to China right now. My secondary priority would be, can you get the Chinese to put pressure on the Iranians to open up the Strait of Hormuz? About 14% of all oil purchased out of Iran goes to China. That's billions and billions of dollars that I'm almost certain the Iranian regime would like to have in their coffers. And so there's some levers here that the president can turn on that I think in the next 3 to 6 months could potentially benefit Republicans. But you got to start now before voting starts. And I don't see any indicators that suggest to me that the party as a whole or the White House, unfortunately, is looking at it through that lens.
I don't expect the leader of the free world to be thinking about this level of stuff when he is in the middle of a war. I think the problem is the messaging back home has raised a lot of questions for people. I want to play for you Kevin Hassett. He's been kind of the main messenger here, National Economic Council Director. He told Fox Business this on Tuesday about people's worries about the economy.
First of all, this is a temporary energy shock, and that's very clearly in the data. I think that the White House's position is this is very close to an end, and when that happens, there's going to be a gusher of oil and a reduction in prices. If you look at capital spending in March, the orders were up 3.3%, not at an annual rate. It's one of the biggest months we've ever seen.
It's like everything is good when you hear him talk. And then when we ask just people on the street, they don't say everything's good.
You know, the good way to explain it, and I was trying to have this, I was having this conversation. We were just talking about the Kevin Hart roast randomly, right?
Yes.
So I hear some comedians say, you know what's interesting? We're all out of work. Like in terms of people who are in LA. That's just an LA thought process.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm looking around, you talk to your friends, a lot of my friends are just out of work.
Right.
While on paper it might look good, but I think most Americans feel this in a real way. Like, okay, where's the affordability? What can I do? I might be making more money, but I feel like I'm more in debt.
Yeah. The wages are not keeping. We just want to show the math is not mathing. The economist's way of saying that is the annual inflation number in April was 3.8%. We talk about this a lot on the show, just this idea of like, we remember when we had to defend Bidenomics, and then everyone said it was a vibe session. What's different here is that the public can pinpoint the exact day decisions were made, policy decisions by Trump, that affect how they live now. So what is the kind of defense of this by Republicans as they head into midterm?
Well, I think Republicans accept that. Even Kevin Hassett basically said as much, right? This is an inflationary pop that's caused by what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the
How
Iranians...
long is a pop?
Well, look, it's been 1 month. This is based on the April numbers,
Yeah.
right? Probably will happen a second month. We should probably expect that. But going forward...
But like September, October,
I think for
November?
political purpose, we should hope it's happening in September, October. Those numbers are going down. But look,
Let me follow up with you, then you can answer at the end of this. Senator Bernie Moreno of Ohio asked about this on Tuesday.
The gas price situation is tough, but I don't think that's going to be resolved in the next few weeks. I think this trip to China is going to be instrumental in getting the Chinese to weigh in. If that happens, gas prices will crash just like they did on the way up. They'll come on the way down. So I think by, call it Labor Day, it's all in the rearview mirror.
Is that the message?
I think that's the likely outcome. I mean, we saw prices drop significantly in Brent and WTI after some progress was made a few weeks back. I think that's the likely outcome when there's a positive announcement. But let's be clear about what Iran's doing. They don't have much leverage. They don't have military leverage. They're not getting the support that they think from their allies, right? So they are trying to work the American press into pressuring Trump through this economic issue. That's why the president's, essentially going on camera saying it's not what we're talking about. It's not what we're worried about. We're worried about the strategic threat of nuclear weapons. That's a pushback on what Iran's trying to do.
Antoine jump
Look, there's a different conversation on K Street than it is on Main Street and my street. On K Street, Trump and his officials are intellectually being dishonest about what the reality everyday Americans are feeling. The reality is this war of choice and this economy of choice is sponsored and brought to you by Donald Trump and their neighborhood Republican Party. No one asked for this war, and as a direct result of this war, we're now feeling the pain at the pump, but also in the everyday lives of Americans. When you think about healthcare, when you think about utility prices, when you think about gas, groceries, goods, and the majority party have done absolutely nothing to lower costs for the American people.
Let me just underscore what you're saying here. When CNN did its polling, we asked the question, has the war with Iran affected your financial situation? 75% said negatively. So I think they're making it hard to change people's feelings about the economy.
And
let him answer this.
Yeah.
Look, the math is the math, right? When the cost of diesel goes up, the cost of groceries and service delivery, all that goes up. That's why the Republicans have been essentially, very solid on this message and consistent on this message, where they're saying this is a temporary pop. This is something that's going to happen.
But Joe,
it's getting that, it's landing that plane, I think, before, as Senator Moreno said, by Labor Day, by September, by October. You need to do that.
The reality is, no, you can tell people anything you want to tell people, but they remember how you make them feel. And right now, Americans don't feel good at all.
They shouldn't. They lost 10% of their purchasing power in a year under Joe Biden. That has still not played out.
Okay, let me follow up on this in a little bit.
Can I make one quick
point?
Go
ahead.
With all due respect, it's not just gas. And it's not just the opportunities that Republicans have had since they've had this majority in the presidency. Things have gone up since MAGAnomics has become a failure, since Donald Trump has taken over this economy. And you mentioned, what Americans are feeling. I call that feelonomics. That's economics you can feel. And you all have failed on the economic front when it comes to my personal economy.
We're going to have a lawmaker here. We're going to talk about redistricting. All this matters ahead, to your point. about how people feel and how long that lasts.
CNN's Matt Egan is with us now. Matt, when we're talking about the war in Iran, what kind of an impact does it have on Americans' financial situations?
Yeah, John, there's been a major impact just since the war started, right? We've got inflation at 3-year highs, real wages falling, and prices are rising rapidly on groceries, on airfare, and of course on gasoline. Now, the energy spike, that's really ground zero for the hit to consumers. The estimates from Brown University are that the impact from higher gas and diesel, that's costing Americans $38 billion since the war started. They're comparing current prices with a no-war counterfactual. And this really adds up. $38 billion, that translates to almost $300 per household. And one of the big factors here is the fact that diesel, which is just a crucial fuel for farmers, for truckers, and all of us consumers, diesel is going to all-time highs in a number of states just today. According to AAA, we have new all-time highs for diesel in Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, and Indiana. All three of those at the bottom, well above $6 a gallon for the first time ever. Now, gasoline prices, they're no longer going straight up, thankfully, right? They actually fell 5 days in a row. But as you can see on the right side of this screen, of this chart, that decline, it's been pretty minor. You almost need a magnifying glass to see it. Gas prices did tick higher today to $4.51 a gallon. That's up from below $3 a gallon before the war started. And even the Energy Department is warning of more trouble ahead. The Energy Department's forecasting arm just yesterday increased its outlook, its projection for gas prices in both this year and next year. They are not projecting a speedy return to those pre-war prices that the president has talked about. They also see Brent crude staying near $106 a barrel this month and next. And while the president sometimes says that the Strait of Hormuz either is open or that the reopening is imminent, the Energy Department's, their forecasters, they're not seeing that at all. They think that the strait will stay effectively closed through late May. They see traffic returning in June, but only gradually and not going back to normal until the end of the year. And so look, this is a race against time to get the Strait of Hormuz reopened. Gas Buddies Patrick DeHaan just last night, he said that if there is no reopening soon, he thinks gas will go to $5 a gallon nationally very soon, possibly as soon as next month. And that would just intensify inflation and just put further pressure on all those household budgets.
You can see oil prices ticking up a little bit again today. Matt Egan, thank you very much for that.